Hello makers, my name is Jen and I am the host of Making Conversation. If you're new here, Making Conversation is a cozy, come as you are, bring your project type of video podcast. I sit down with dyers, designers, and fiber artists of all kinds, and we talk process, business, community, and all the real life stuff that shapes our creative lives. I like to look at this podcast as the perfect company while you work on your web. So thanks for hanging out with us. Let's kick this off with a big welcome and thank you to all of the new fiber friends who have found our way to this podcast and have subscribed. I can't talk. That's what I'm supposed to do here. I'm blown away. Thank you for being here. I love seeing this little corner of the internet grow. I appreciate each and every one of you. This podcast is something that I do purely for the love of knitting, crochet, this craft, fiber arts in general, and the people who are doing amazing things in this space. Every episode, every edit, every trip to a fiber arts festival, it all happens because I care so deeply about putting these stories out into the world. Because I truly believe that when you get to know somebody on a deeper level, past, the feed that they put out on Instagram or the reels that they make, we all feel a little bit more connected. And I think we need that now, especially right now. So however you choose to show up in this space, I really, really appreciate it. It means the world to me. Let's get into today's episode. It is another Flock Talk that originally happened on stage at Flock Fiber Festival 2025 with two absolutely wonderful makers. I love them so much. They are just so much fun to talk to. If you've been around for a little bit and you've seen past Flock Talks, some of them, the audio was super crunchy and I had to re-record things with these people. Thank you again for everyone who took the time to chat with me again. I super appreciate it. And, things happen. Technology is fun. Yay. No matter how many times I do this, there's always something that's going to go off the rails. And that's just how it is. But, we pivot, we keep going. So this Flock Talk is shop secrets. I think that sounds dramatic enough, right? Shop secrets behind the scenes of running an online yarn shop. Like I said, you will get to hear from two very, very wonderful humans. One being Vanessa of ōSHən Knits and Fibres. If you know me, you know how much I adore Vanessa. She's a marine biologist. She is a knitwear designer. She is a dyer. She owns a shop in Astoria, Oregon. She does it all. If you are ever thinking of going to her shop in Astoria, please do. She has so many fun events. It's just a really beautiful space where anyone in the fiber arts community can come in. It's a safe space. It is welcoming. And I can't recommend it enough. And of course, you've probably seen her yarn and you know how beautiful it is. So I don't know how much I have to say about that because I think you already probably know. And of course, Marcy of Bad Sheep Yarn. I had never met Marcy before this conversation, but quickly I knew that we would get along. She's just a wonderful human. She's got such great energy and her yarn is gorgeous. Her yarn is also known for really bold colors, the storytelling behind it, and also this really cool online community that she has built around this beautiful yarn brand. Before we hop in, I do want to remind you that there are really awesome ways to support this podcast. Of course, subscribe here on YouTube so that you don't ever miss an episode. Don't forget to comment what you are working on while you're watching. I love reading those. And if there's anything that resonates with you or makes you laugh or any questions that you have, comments, anything like that, drop them down below. I really love interacting. And, this is me typically, unless I'm on stage at Flock, staring into a camera. So I love interacting with all of you in the comments. I wish that we could, be sitting here across from each other, but that's not how this works. So let's chat in the comments. Share this episode, share all of the Flock Talks, share the podcast with all of your maker friends. Post about it on social, send an email, whatever it is. It doesn't just help grow the podcast, but it helps share these amazing maker stories. And just a few more things. You can always turn on notifications. Give this episode a thumbs up. give it a like. You can follow Making Conversation on Instagram, making_CO for clips, behind the scenes, announcements, etc. And for those who want to go a little bit further and support financially, I have a Ko-fi page. It's listed below, and there is an option to give monthly or once. Either way, your support there helps keep these stories coming. Okay, grab your whip, get cozy, and let's get into it. Take two. All right, as we do with every single episode of Making Conversation, let's hear about your maker journeys. Where did everything begin?
Taking it back to when I first started learning how to knit when I was 5 with my grandma while my parents were working. I spent a lot of time with her. Grew up in a family where all the women, knit, and started working on commercial fishing vessels back in 2015 as a biologist, which gave me a lot of downtime on the boats, steaming out, coming back in between hauls. So that was really when my knitting kind of came obsessive and I leveled up. And that's where I found my passion in designing. So I started my journey with making garments to sell. Quickly realized I hated doing that. I had a local yarn shop that had just opened up, and Allie of Seaside Yarn and Fiber was like, you should get into designing and making patterns for other knitters. And I was like, that's a thing. So started getting into that. And during the pandemic, which it wasn't because of the pandemic, I actually went out to sea for 55 days. And so I was like, I'm going to have so much downtime, going to fully focus for 2 months. It just happened to kind of coincide with the pandemic. So I came back and, wrote up patterns and realized that I really wanted to get into size inclusive and shape inclusive knitwear design. And that's when I designed my Made You collection. And that's kind of where, as a designer, I blossomed. And then I realized I was sitting a lot, knitting a lot, and, it was the pandemic. And I wanted to move my body more. I found myself kind of, my body was aching really bad from just sitting in one position knitting. So that's where I decided to jump into yarn dyeing. Then I quickly realized that it gave me another creative outlet to work with colors that wasn't so rigid like knitwear design. And I fell in love with it. And I started that journey in 2022, created the online store for yarn in 2023. And then in 2024, last summer, I kind of fell into a local yarn shop space. It was a local yarn shop for 6 years. The owner was retiring. She reached out to me. And so then ōSHän and Fibres decided to have a storefront. And it's been a crazy journey. I feel like things have happened rapidly, which if anybody knows me in real life, I'm someone who processes things really fast and I do things really fast. So it made sense that even my business would happen really fast. It's been a wild ride.
Yeah, if people want to know a deeper version of your maker story / want to see the shop, we did a whole episode there. So when you're done watching this one, scroll back and watch that one.
Might get a suntan while I'm out here. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, Making Conversation after dark in the day.
I started knitting also when I was a kid, and I really, really loved Laura Ingalls Wilder in Little House on the Prairie. My mom had a friend who was a traveling nurse, and she came into town, and randomly one time we went to their house. She had this entire wall of wool, and I think she probably spun too, because it was just these huge bats of roving and yarn of every color. She just had a massive stash, and it was well lit and beautiful. And so she sat there that night and taught me and my sister how to cast on. And then after that, I learned I loved it because it was bringing me one step closer to being like Laura. And so I taught myself through phone calls and things because there wasn't YouTube and everything like that. I didn't have books for knitting or anything. I was maybe like 10 or 11. So I didn't even think like I should go to my library, you know? And so we called her and I was learning to knit with like screwdrivers and pencils and anything that I could. And I really never put it down. But I'm not a triple threat like Vanessa. I am not a math person and like at all. And so one time my yarn shop was like, Marcy, you should write a pattern because I can knit enough to make things myself without a pattern, but it's the recording process and then the whole thought throughout. And so when they were like, you should make a pattern, I made a shawl pattern and I gave it to them to kind of refine for me. And they were like, we don't even know what you did here. And I said, yeah. And so I guess I shouldn't be a pattern designer and that's not in the cards for me. So didn't do that. I have twins and a 10-year-old and my twins were babies. And I was at a knit night with some of my friends that I would go to regularly. And a gal started coming and she turned out to be Shandy of Expression Fiber Arts. And she posted on our Facebook group where we communicated needing a yarn dyer. And I, you know, just to work from home, she said it was great for moms who had their kids in the house and stuff. And I was like, no, because I had zero interest in it. None whatsoever. She said, well, we'll train you. And some of the other gals that had known me for a long time were like, you know, you should do it. So I did. And after the first run through, I was hooked. I dyed yarn for her out of my house for probably about a year and a half, 2 years. We were both living in Alaska at the time. She moved out of state. And when she moved, I asked if I could start my own business. And so she's been a great friend and mentor since then, but we just took it from there. I guess this is also like maker journey, business journey, but it was like, we've been in business now for 10 years. And probably the first 5 years was figuring out all of that in between. And I was wholesaling for my yarn shop at the time because we were just trying to juggle life and starting a business and we were building a house and all this kind of stuff. The first 5 years were like this. And then probably, I think 2019, I got my own little space in our spare bedroom. We had all 3 of our kids share a room so that I could dye yarn in the spare bedroom. And something clicked and it just has been uphill ever since. The next year we moved out into a small pottery studio. And then after that, we moved into another bigger space. And then the next year we moved out of Alaska to Florida because shipping out of Alaska is not cost effective. And so now we're here, we've got our studio and that's it. The end.
Well, not the end.
Yeah, not the end. That's the end of the story. It's the end of the story up till this point.
What was it like moving your entire studio like all the way to the other side?
My God. Well, and I want to preface this by saying my husband and I both, he lived the majority of his childhood in Alaska. Neither of us had ever lived anywhere other than the town that we had lived in. And it's a very small town. So the move was extremely difficult. We had some of our staff come. Our manager, Allie, moved with us, and she's still with us. She's amazing. But basically, once we moved here, we had to start from the ground up. The building that we're in was almost triple in size. We were dying from a if we were dying from our very old house, like it was two very small bedrooms. One was my office and the staff break room. We shared. And yeah, it was just very small. And so coming into a much bigger space was overwhelming. And we had to hire completely new staff. And so training everyone to do that was quite a bit. And then on top of that, you're going to work and you're doing all this stuff and then you're coming home and like your bed isn't even the same. So, you know, there was parts about it that were extremely, extremely difficult just on a personal level and then also on a career level. We tried really hard to make the move where our customers barely even felt a difference. I think some people notice the shipping difference between here and Alaska. Oddly, it takes longer because in Alaska, there's these two big, huge shipping hubs right next to you. So there's Seattle and then there's Anchorage, and then LA is close as well. So everything we would ship out would immediately go to a massive sorting facility and just get right out. And then also because it's rural Alaska, everything had to be flown. And so here in Florida, it's all trucks and driving, and you have all these small towns in between a larger sorting facility. There were some bumps and things like that along the road, but it was really, really hard. I don't want to do it again. But at the same time, the staff we have now, I absolutely love. They're amazing. And our family is doing great here. Our kids are really flourishing. I really, really love not having to do winter. And
Fair.
and we couldn't grow the way we wanted to where we were, purely based on the types of buildings that they build there. And the cost of getting into something that we needed. But yeah, it was hard. It was it was a lot.
Wow. The dedication of that manager.
She's awesome.
Yeah.
Man, she's so cool. She started with us when she was 19. And so she's done everything. She's like one of the best at speckling and solids. She's so great at it. And she's just a solid person. She's just awesome.
Awesome. Nice.
Yeah.
Vanessa, you have the in-person space, but let's start with online yarn shops. What is something that people might not realize about what goes into running an online yarn shop?
Oh, so much. Before I had the shop, it was an e-commerce business. It was fully online. Just the amount of work that goes in just creating the website, the amount of work that goes into maintaining the website is so intense. I did all of it on my own at first, and you're just constantly working on it. There's never a point with your website that you're like, oh, this is good, I can leave it alone now for a few months. Figuring out the shipping alone was very intense. Playing with the product listings, like figuring out what works for your customer base when you don't have a background in marketing whatsoever or website development. It's a huge learning curve. I had already had my website for all of my patterns, and that was pretty easy, pretty simple, right? And so when I got into yarn dyeing, I felt like I spent more time working on my website. First, you got to like order all the stuff for your yarn, and then you got to dye the yarn, and then you got to prep the yarn for it to look nice, and then you got to take the photos, and then you have to edit the photos, and then you have to upload the photos. It's just like constant work. And you realize like you spend hours and hours on your website creating it. And you do get to a point where, you know, you're not having to do as much work as you do in the beginning to get it set up, but you're just constantly, even, you know, today with having the yarn shop, and I have someone that actually does a lot of my marketing for me now. I still find myself constantly changing things here and there, just the font, figuring out the font that you want for your website,
branding,
the color palette. Like I still haven't really fine-tuned that. I'm still kind of like keeping it pretty basic with like black and white and like the same font everywhere.
I've worked in marketing for years now, and I don't know, people who've been here for a while know like the background of making conversation and how it was linked to making magazine and making app. And then when that all went away, I kept the making logo. And then it was starting to like really come clear to me that I needed to make a change because, you know, those things are no longer. And I kept this going because I love doing it. Once you make one change, remembering where all of it is and, you know, where that goes. It's also like good to give yourself grace too when it comes to that stuff. It's testing, it's seeing what resonates with you, what resonates with the people who buy from you. But it is a lot. I fully 100% understand, and I'm not selling yarn. So
I love the marketing part of it. This is maybe a little off topic. I started also like no knowledge, no nothing. My husband does have a marketing background, but he didn't help with any of the creative stuff. He did build our website. So I was like really grateful for that. At one point I did build a website, and then he was like, this is all bad, and he redid it. So I'm really grateful for him. But Vanessa, I think you're right. And you've probably, since we've taught ourselves some of the skills that we've needed for this, when you go looking for tutorials for building your own business where you're making your own product, they are not there. There are no free materials for how to do this and how to do the administrative side of it, even though it's like, I'm building a product. I'm putting it on a website. It's e-commerce. It's marketing. Most of the free education out there is for like, I have this ebook. I'm starting a blog or something like that. At least when I was getting started, that was what the education was geared toward. And then the marketing things too. I have had decision fatigue since like 2010. I'm a 7 Enneagram Gemini. So I'm like, don't put baby in a corner. So as soon as someone's like, you have to choose a color palette, I'm like, I didn't sign up for that. What if my mood changes tomorrow? Then you go to branding courses and then they're like, pick your palette, step 1. And I was immediately like, oh no, I can't do this. I need white and black so that I could do whatever else I want to do within this space.
The amount of times I like changed my website, like the different aesthetic in the beginning, and I'm like, this is such a waste of time. But like, it depends on your mood.
Hey, like lime green has been my favorite color the last probably year and a half. I used to hate that color, hated it. And now it's my favorite. We're artists. So
yeah,
it's like we need a little freedom to create. I think that's not every person yarn dyer.
But if you're going to look at this every day, you have to like it. And it's okay if that changes as long as it's, still recognizable to your customer and you're not like taking a complete like 180 from what you were doing.
Yeah. And really the long-term plan for me is to make stuff all the time and to not be boxed in by a theme. And I think that's why I did have a really hard time in the beginning, is because it's like I have a wider range of interests. And so to not be boxed in by a theme and giving yourself room to be creative with that. And I have found, this is such a rabbit trail, I have found so much joy and fascination in marketing, and for how much they say, like, have this specific thing. I have loved the experimentation in marketing. And I actually really enjoy, if you throw something out there and it doesn't work, then you do something else. And so, and I think this is where the connection is going. Not having themes and color palettes and things like that has kind of made it where you can throw stuff in and just kind of like throw it at the wall and see what happens. And I think that's really fun. We have a font now, and we use it. Yeah, I know. Wow. Baby's grown up. And we use it for all of our stuff. So it's like, you do get to a point where you're like, you understand like needing to associate yourself with certain things, like a font.
Well,
but let me tell you, choosing that font was tricky.
I mean, there's so many, and then there's bold and italics, and you can change kerning and just it's a lot. But a lot. I will say, your husband has a background in marketing. I'm sure he said this to you, but for people listening that might be like, what you're saying really resonates with them, that's okay, because I started marketing back a long time ago, a long, long time ago. I got to sing in every episode for some reason before Instagram was even a thing. And I mean, that's what marketing is throwing stuff at a wall and seeing what sticks.
Yeah.
And especially with digital marketing, things are changing constantly.
Yeah.
So as long as you have the base of everything, which, font, basic colors that will always appear, maybe it's black and white, you're good to go. And what worked last year is probably not going to work this year because everything is always changing. Thank you, social media.
Yeah.
But also, the beauty of all of this is you both dye like beautifully bright and a wide array of colors. So, of course, that's going to be a part of your brand anyways, right?
Yeah, I kind of realized because in the beginning, my favorite color is pink. It always has been, always will be. So I tried to use that in my color palette, and then I realized that it drove me crazy because all my photos are so colorful with all the yarn, and I'm like, wait, I can keep it simple, and my color palette can just be my colorways and let that speak for itself. So once that clicked in my head, I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
As shop owners, yarn dyers, people with family and lives, what does your typical week actually look like right now, if typical even exists?
Well, I have a little bit more independence in Marcy. I don't have children and it's just myself. So I live and breathe
I'm
my
sorry, no,
business.
you have children.
Oh.
I consider dogs to be children. I'm
Yes, but
sorry.
I don't have to do school. I don't have to do school.
That's fair.
They don't have a schedule.
It's a different,
You know what I mean?
a different type of
Yeah.
child. Yes,
Yes,
it's not exactly the same. Please don't come at me in the comments. I am not saying it is exactly the same. My partner has kids. I fully know it is not, but they are. They do need you, and you need to do things for them. So that's the similarity there.
That's definitely one of the reasons why I wanted to move the studio back to Astoria. Was pretty stoked to have this 200 square foot space that's insulated, powered by like souped up electrical. Because I wanted to be home more. When I had my space, which is about a half an hour away, I'd bring my dogs with me. They're 12 and 13, and they're very old chihuahuas. They're still going to live another 10 years, God help me. That was a huge part of wanting to move it back into my space because I started my yarn dyeing business out of my kitchen. And that's not sustainable, right? You really do need a space of your own, and you need to not have to like break down and set up every time you're dyeing yarn. It's so nice to just be like, you know what? I don't feel like cleaning any of this stuff. I'm going to do it tomorrow. I was very excited to come back. The girls love it. My house and the backyard and the studio are all connected to each other. I do find that I work more because I'm able to kind of fit it inside of my own personal life, do a little bit of the setup, go for a run, come back, do a little bit more of yarn dyeing, turn on the oven, let that sit for a few hours, go to the shop, or go have lunch with friends, come back, do that, make dinner, and it's just it's been really great. I just feel much happier having a better work-life balance. Even though some people would look at me and be like, "You literally work all the time," and I'm like, "I know, I love it though," but I'm still
it's different for
in my
everyone,
bubble.
right? Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
it's not
still
for
getting
everyone.
in the things that give you joy, right?
I saw a meme or whatever on Instagram the other day that I actually shared on my story, and it said, the most successful people are not the ones that look for work-life balance. They're the ones that actually integrate their work into their personal life. So work doesn't feel like work, it feels like play. I've integrated it more into my own personal life instead of trying to be like separated out. I've made my work into play and my play into work. And I think it took me a really long time to stop feeling so guilty about that because society tells you like, you need to take time for yourself, like don't be a workaholic. And I realized that It's okay to be a workaholic. I have an addictive personality. I'm addicted to things that are healthy for me, one being my work, my passion. And once I came to that realization, I'm just like, oh, okay, I can like stop stressing about like working so much. The
Mm-hmm.
people that are in my life just have to accept that. And if not, then they're not people that should be in my life. And that's kind of where I'm at. So yeah.
Well, and again, it's different for everyone. Some people do need to like put up those boundaries and say, okay, this is work time, this is me time, but
Yeah, I
it
have no
works for you,
boundaries.
so why not? Oh,
But yes, everyone is very different,
yeah.
and you have to find what works for you, and that's kind of you need to block out societal norms and what other people are telling you, or like how other people are living their lives, and figure out what works for you.
Yeah.
Um,
Stop
and
listening to the people that go, only successful people wake up at 5 a.m.
oh,
No,
I
I will
I
not.
I literally just bought an alarm clock for my kitchen because like getting up at 5 a.m. is not happening. Like
No.
I sleep like the dead, and that my 8 hours is 11 hours. Like I need to
Oh,
sleep a
God.
lot. So
That's amazing. I'm jealous.
I work full time, Monday to Friday. So from 8 to 4:30, my girls know, unless it's an emergency, I have to be fully focused on my marine bio job. So I spend a lot of my evenings in the dye studio or knitting. I have a couple of projects that I'm working on for other yarn companies. And then my weekends are, get up as early as I can, start yarn dyeing, and then fit in like things that I want to do. I have a little bit of a structure, but in terms of like what I'm doing that day, it just depends. I kind of try to set my hours the same only because my job makes me. I do hybrid. So sometimes I'm at the office, sometimes I'm here, and that changes week to week depending on my observers have fisherman schedules. So it's very sporadic, but it's chaotic
Mhm.
and I love it. It's fun.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't even talk about that. Well, my opening will mention this, but yeah, you have a full-time job and a full-time job.
Yeah, I have like 5 full-time jobs.
Marcy, what does your typical week actually look like? Typical.
Well, one of my kids I take to school at like 7 in the morning. Our staff starts at 6:30 in the morning here. They come in early and then they get off and go to the beach or whatever else they have in their lives. If I have a lot going on that day or if I have time, I'll go right into work, and then other times I'll head home and just kind of get ready for the day and then go in. My days they change daily. And so sometimes I'm taking photos all day and editing, and sometimes I'm in meetings all day. Like I'm swatching right now, and sometimes I'm dyeing yarn all day, and those are my favorite days. And the other day I was taking orders all day. And so it just kind of depends on what I need to do and where I need to be. And then also we do our Facebook and Instagram lives. And so today I dropped my kid off, went to a doctor appointment, came in, and we've been doing some interviews and working and swatching. And I cleaned my little office space today. And then I'll go home and probably eat dinner and then go on our live video, which is in my walk-in closet. And right now that's my home office space. We're in that phase of life with our kids where their schedules are almost more than ours. And so you need a full-on team right now just to make sure everyone gets to where they need to go and stuff. It's just the phase of life we're in where it's like lots and lots of kid stuff and then lots and lots of work stuff. And that part never shuts down either. Well, I try and set some boundaries. So usually if I leave for the day, unless I have a live or something like that, I'm done working, and I don't pull open my phone unless I'm reading, and I don't open my laptop. And then on the weekends, I try and do that too. So we kind of like on the weekends, our whole staff goes home. Everyone here works a ton and they work really hard. So we're always like, take the weekend, and so we try to, but it's hard sometimes to not like check your phone, check the website, check, all the stuff, but
Yeah.
trying.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't think work-life balance really exists. I think you just got to find the space that works for you and the season of life that you're in, because it just changes all the time. And so that's just life. And finding some ebb and flow there is what I have found to be the most helpful. I don't know. It's always, every day is a new adventure.
Let's talk about yarn because, we all love that. That's why we're here. Where do your ideas for new colorways usually start? And how has that process changed since you started dyeing yarn?
When I first started my business, the yarn dyeing side of the business, I think my first collection was Sylvan Esso. It was an album that I listened to obsessively out at sea. So I tied in, my ōSHən career into it. And then the next collection, because Woola ran away for 3 nights, was a Where's Woola collection. We had her wear a Where's Waldo costume. It was very cute. And then after that, I realized the direction that I wanted to take my yarn dye side of the business was to have it be kind of put into a box of ōSHən themed. That was when the All Things ōSHən collection was born. I went to Australia for a work conference, which was a big milestone for me in my marine bio career. And I dyed the Great Barrier Reef. That was a huge thing that I checked off my bucket list. And it was crazy. It was like a rainbow under the ocean. And we went to an aquarium and I just felt really inspired by all those colors. And then since then, it's just been kind of like an ongoing theme that it is ocean themed. We tie it into that. And at first I was a little nervous about cornering myself into that box. I intertwine it in my business a lot. Even though I put myself in a box, that box just feels like home for me. And there's so much that I can do within that box.
I started just with colors. I would just put dye on a pan and then just kind of go and figure stuff out one step and one layer at a time. And so learning to dye yarn with a theme was a learning curve for me. But when I started doing that and teaching myself that, I was teaching myself how to dye in collections at the same time. I started with one of our Alaska sets, which was not really meant to be worked together. It's like 6 colorways. And that one I did find things and just kind of work around for each colorway themes more than an actual color palette or anything like that. And then right after that, I moved. My kids were really into the Gruffalo. And there were some really cool animation films with that. Then I did a set after the Gruffalo. And then just because marketing or taking photos and kind of finding a story behind colorways, it was easier to dye yarn with a theme so that I could tell its story behind it. We had a colorway sanguine, and just naming things off of feelings and emotions or words that mean cool things. We'll have jokes in our live and we'll make whole entire colorway sets off of them. We had one where we were talking about, I don't remember even what started the joke, but basically someone asked me if I would ever make a meat yarn. But the thought of actually like thinking so deeply about meat, we made a charcuterie set. And thinking so deeply about turning yarn to look like meat, like just kind of grossed me out just thinking about it. And so I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that. But it was our whole entire live comment section at the time. We were like, oh, charcuterie. And so it's still a joke within that community of making meat yarn and how I'll never do it. And so we've done jokes like that. We did an entire like romantasy set off of this idea that I had one time about like the like bodice but bursting romance novels and how crazy some of the covers are. And we made yarn off of that. And that was a whole joke that we did. And then it turned into something. And so I do a lot of joke yarn turned serious. The inspiration has evolved over the years and it just depends. Always nature, always being outside. I love being outside. So books, I read a lot. I love music. And I think there's something neat about color because I think it can evoke feeling. I like playing with that a lot too, is evoking feelings and telling stories and how when you dye yarn, you can create a whole entire storyline, personality. You can create almost an entire life out of color and yarn. I have all kinds of theories about it and stuff that I've made for myself. It's so fascinating. Anyways, the end.
Y'all are making me jealous. I typically don't knit when I do these. We're trying this. This is new for the Making Conversation podcast. Jen is also crafting.
New things.
Because other people that I interview do it. Why? I should also do it. Continuing with yarn, how do you navigate pricing your yarn, balancing the cost of the materials, labor, while also managing customer expectations? And I think we all know that hand-dyed yarn is not inexpensive. But what is your thought process when pricing?
When I first started yarn dyeing, I really relied heavily on other yarn companies and kind of doing a little bit of research, seeing what their bases were, how much they were charging, and then applying that to myself. So when I first started learning how to dye yarn, I went to the lower end of what I was seeing just because I felt like I was very new at it. I was still learning a lot about like the technique of dyeing yarn. And I also purchased pretty like basic like merino wools because again, I was just trying it out. As I progressed as a yarn dyer and then also started getting in different bases like lace kid silk and surrey, finer yarns, I started to then slowly raise my prices. With tariffs coming in, we were a little worried about that. And so Jazz and I had to brainstorm, and we were moving the studio at the same time as the tariffs were coming in. So that was when we decided to shift our tonals into ovens. And we realized that we can actually dye twice as much yarn in less time. So usually what would take us 8 hours, we were doing double in 6 hours. And now that we've done that, once we have yet to feel the tariffs hit us, but we know it's coming. We know that the yarn companies that we use are in America, but they do source outside of the States. So once their stock depletes, we're going to start feeling that. And so because Jazz and I shifted our dye production to be a little bit more efficient, we know we're not going to have to adjust our prices. We'll be able to keep them the same. And we were really stoked about that. Like you said, hand-dyed yarn is very expensive. We do annual sales where we heavily discount to 50%. So we're covering the cost of everything, but people are able to afford hand-dyed yarn at a good price. They might not be able to pick the most popular colors and the most popular bases, but they will have access to it at a more affordable price.
We don't need to like fully dive into tariffs because I don't know. Let's keep this podcast feel good. And I don't want to throw my microphone. So basically what you did is you figured out ways to cut costs in your business in other ways so that when that yarn does become more expensive, you're able to keep the price the same.
So because we're able to dye more in less time, we're able to adjust in that way. So when the base yarn price increases due to tariffs, our profit margin stays the same. And so we were pretty stoked about that.
We have a master spreadsheet that I am not in charge of for reasons. So we have a spreadsheet. Yeah. We have a spreadsheet that we go over on a very regular basis just to make sure. And it has all of our cost, all of our payroll, everything in it. So we are constantly looking at that. With pricing and things, like, yes, you look around at what everyone else is doing just for a base, just to get off the ground with that kind of stuff. But then my thing has always been, I do want to make yarn as affordable as possible and good yarn as affordable as possible. So, we do have things that we have to take into consideration. And so we charge accordingly for that. But at the same time, we have a rewards program for our customers where they can get points. They can get up to like a $50 gift card with purchases and things like that. So that has been a huge thing that we do, because doing sales and things like that is hard for us. And we used to do ones where we would do like our clearance yarns. So the ones where we've messed up or something like that, we call them our flopsies. And we would do a sale where we would put them all on our website, and we would literally crash the website every time. And people were always mad. They didn't like one thing or the other, and there was no way to make that really work. So now we just put them online when we process them, and we kind of tell our group like, hey, they're there. It is interesting because it's like, I have a yarn shop. I sell yarn. That's what I do for a living. But it's always like, no pressure. Just get what you want when you want it, if you need it. The other thing that I take into consideration with pricing and everything else is I want to pay my staff as best as I can and offer them everything as best as I can. So a lot of that is in the pricing of our yarn, and everything else is the cost that it is to give them a good environment. And we have a warehouse that we dye all our yarn in, and it's like completely air conditioned to make it a good, best as a working environment as we can. And we try and give them, as much as we can with time off and sick leave and everything else. So all of that is included in the price of the yarn, is the ability to do that, and the ability to keep doing right by them and doing what we can to support them as they're supporting me.
It's not just the yarn and the dyeing. It's the yarn and the dyeing and the time. Plus, I mean, everything with marketing, you have to pay for your newsletter. There's so many different things that even maybe don't get thought about. Yeah.
Even like vinegar is much cheaper than citric acid. You have to have it when you're dyeing with the kinds of dyes that we dye. Vinegar is much cheaper, but it smells, and it smells even after you have washed it so much. It still carries, and there's nothing wrong with using vinegar at all other than that. And I have used it in the past in a pinch when we ran completely out of citric acid, and it was like, well, we have to use vinegar for a bit. And just about every customer emailed, why does my yarn smell like vinegar? And it's like, I promise I washed it. So, nothing wrong with it at all. But it's just like, if you make that choice in your business, it's like, and there's a cost to that. And there's a cost to all these things. So it's just, that's all in there.
And internet and electricity.
Yeah.
And
subscriptions up the wazoo that you don't even think about. Like, your website has a subscription, and there's a subscription within the subscription that you have to get. So it's like, it all adds up.
Let's flip to happier news.
Too many subscriptions.
Subscriptions. So pivoting, what has been one of the most joyful moments in your businesses so far?
Definitely the team that I have today. When I took over the yarn shop last summer, we're going to be celebrating our official 1-year anniversary in, not this weekend, but the following, so in a week and a half. I really wanted to create a community. I had that on a very small scale in Seaside when I lived there with Allie's yarn shop. And I felt like that was missing in Astoria. So when I got the opportunity to do it, I just jumped for it. And I definitely didn't expect the community to grow as much as it has so quickly. Daisy's been with me since day one. Jazz, her and I have been friends for years now, and she used to be a local business owner. She's a media artist by trade and was covering the shop for me while I was on vacation. And she fell madly in love with knitting and fiber arts and was like, please let me work with you. And Piper was working at Pilot House and is a crochet artist and was just really burnt out of food service industry and took a pay cut to come work for me and run the shop to kind of level up the business. Just having these 3 women be a part of this has just truly been such a blessing. They don't work for me. Like I work for them, and like we all work for the business, all best friends, family. Like we have an ongoing joke that I'm daddy because I pay for everything, and Piper's mommy 'cause she keeps all of us like sane and together. Jazz is the fun aunt because she's the dye studio manager. Daisy's our baby because she's only 26. Like we're just one big happy family, and we've created a space for other people, and it's been what we have, the four of us, is contagious, and people gravitate towards it. And it's just been a safe haven for women, bays, gays. And that's just been the whole reason why I take on so much, why I work so hard is to create that community. And it's just been really special. And I literally would chop my arm off for any of them. So, but yeah.
I'm going to call myself the cousin that lives far away. I'm forcing myself into your family.
You're the cool aunt that lives in Seattle.
Oh, there we go. I mean, I'm already a cool aunt, so we'll just keep that title. The cool aunt from Seattle.
When I started Bad Sheep Yarn, I wanted to be like the Banksy of yarn dyeing, where I never showed my face. No one ever knew who I was. You know, I was super private, and I still kind of am. I'm an open book, but at the same time, it's like being in front of a camera is something that I have grown accustomed to. It's not my natural state. I hate selfies and all that stuff. But through this and through actually like showing my face and showing up, I have met people and made friends that I never would have gotten to if I didn't do the lives or customer service emails and all that stuff. I have met people online that are just some of the most beautiful, beautiful people. And there's also something really, really humbling when people use your stuff, the stuff that you've made. Like we've had people make wedding dresses out of our yarn. And that is so humbling. And then when they make things for their children and they say like, my kid loves this, or they make, you know, you kind of see like the heirloom side of what we do really play out. And it's so beautiful. It is very humbling that what you make inspires people to make other things that they treasure and they love. And when we were at Flock, several people had projects like stuffed in their bags that they would come up and bring me and show me and just say, you know, like, I love this. I've made it. It's just so touching to be a part of people's lives in that way. And yeah, like I had one of our customers, she shows up at our live, and I've met her a few times in person to where it's like she's asked for my phone number very respectfully, and I gave it to her because she was really nice about it, and I do like her a lot. And she sent me a text today that was like, hey, I'm really excited to see you on live tonight. I hope your day is going awesome. Mm-hmm. It's just like crazy. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. And I have another friend that I'm hoping to meet up in Rhinebeck, and I met him on the lives, and he's so funny. And it's like, and we talk about Chapel Roan together. Lady Guy, we just like go, we text, you know, and he'll text me his projects. And it's just like, there are friendships that I've made that I'm so honored and I treasure so much. Mm-hmm. And I'm so glad that I am doing this, because without it, I wouldn't have met them. And I'm also glad that I got out of my comfort zone, because I also wouldn't have met them if I would have stayed in my little box. Like, I keep every card that is sent. We have people send us cards. I keep every one. They're all over the place, but I keep them, and when I find them, I read them, and it's just like, how special.
That's beautiful. The community thing in general, I mean, that's why I'm continue to do this podcast, right? But I think that they are connecting to your yarn, or they have connected to your yarn. And then that is part of you, right? That's part of you as a human. Do you feel like, well, how long did you play Banksy where you didn't show your face? Did that not last long, or was it for a while?
So in 2020, I did my first live and I had my 2 kids behind me because they wanted to be in it. And within the first like 10 seconds, they started fighting. And one of them shoved and pushed the other one over behind me, like on live. My mom was watching. I just was like, and I was just sat there while they were like fighting in the background. And I just was like, all right, I think we're done here. And I ended it. It was just like, I'm not doing this anymore. So I took a break. After that, like I was like, well, it can't get any worse. And so I would show up in stories more often, but I always use like the puppy dog filter. And I can always, if I have something humorous or a joke, I will go with the bit. I think in 2021, my husband was like, you have to start showing your face more and doing lives. And so it was kind of like a slow progression into it. But the first time I did lives, other than the one where my kids were fighting behind me, I was just doing it on an iPad with no tripod or anything. And it kept falling over for probably the first like 2 weeks. And we were a big enough company by then that if you went on, it would show up probably like to a couple thousand people that you were going live. So very quickly we had probably like 30, 40 people watching. Some of them still watch and they're like, remember when you used to do the lives and it was always like in a dark room and your iPad was falling over and you didn't have anything to say?
Besides, utilizing social media and utilizing the platform in a different way, which usually helps boost things because that's how Instagram works. Do you feel like the connection that your customers felt to you grew stronger the more that you showed your face?
Oh yeah, 1,000%. We've made a community there. At this point now, we're all just hanging out. Like we go there and we hang out. I also think it's just putting a person behind what you're looking at, because I think even like having hands in pictures and stuff like that is not quite the same effect, but it's very similar because it's putting a person and a personality to what you're showing. And so yeah, it's just connection. It's people connecting with people. So
and what we do is so personal, knowing the person who is behind the yarn that you're using, that you are maybe making a special thing for another person or for yourself, creating a wedding dress or whatever. It adds a layer of specialness, if you will.
Yeah. I feel like now that they've seen my face and when they buy the yarn and then they send us an email showing us what they're making, it's like, well, now they can probably picture me being like, whoa.
Yeah.
So, because they've seen it before.
Yeah.
Happens all the time.
I can't imagine that you are just sitting there like this on your lives.
No. No.
Yeah. With Vanessa, there's the actual like in-person shop and online. And then Marcy, you have the online shop. And then you've already talked about a lot of the ways that you show up for your community there. But what does community mean to you in the context of your business?
The shop is very focused on local community. We do have a lot of our customers coming from, the East Coast and Seattle and California, but our sole focus is for the local community. Fiber Arts is such a great resource for people struggling with seasonal depression, mental health issues. Our shop manager, Piper, had to go through a very serious, life-changing surgery. And she said, Crochet saved my life. Our entire team, we are all diagnosed with ADHD and some sort of level of autism on the spectrum. And it's just been very helpful to be able to process the emotions that you go through when you are somebody with a spicy brain. For us, the shop is very much a safe space for people to feel like they can just be themselves and to learn something that could be really life-changing. It might not be life-changing for everybody. I've yet to meet someone who hasn't been obsessed with fiber arts that have tried it. They may have tried it when they were younger. we all know kids have like no patience whatsoever, and you need a little bit of patience with crochet and knitting and any kind of fiber arts. And then, I have been growing my online community since day one. And like Marcy was saying, I absolutely adore meeting people in person. It still baffles me and cracks me up when people are like nervous to meet me, because I'm just like, I'm a chaos goblin. I'm very silly. Like, I just think it's very sweet. And like, I'm not like Julia Roberts or anything. And like Marcy was saying, I had a customer who bought yarn at Flock. She gifted me a beautiful shawl that she made with our PNW collection yarn. And I asked if I could pay for it. She's like, well, why don't we do a trade? I'm looking to, make my wedding dress. And I am like, been eyeing up your plankton mandala. It's like a white base with bits of color throughout it. And I was like, not only did you make this ridiculously beautiful shawl that I'm obsessed with my yarn, but then you want to do a trade with me to get more of my yarn to make a wedding dress. And I was just like, this is the community that I want. Like, she sees how much I love what I do and how much love I put into it. And then she takes that and puts even more love into it and then returns it to me. And it's just like this constant back and forth of just putting so much of our heart and souls into what we do. And, it's just been really beautiful to experience both of those. And I'm so grateful for the opportunities that I've had with fiber shows and to meet those people. And, like Marcy was saying, being friends with them. I've got 2 amazing customers that actually watched our talk. We were at Flock Fiber Festival, and they're coming up, and they're like, "You want to have dinner with us and hang out?" And I was like, "Hell yeah!" I was like, "Do you guys want to come dye yarn with me?" Like, I think that's what keeps all of us going. I would not be happy working till 3 a.m. dyeing yarn for a show just for money. It's just not how I function. I do it because my team is my community. The people that are in my shop are my community, and then the people that I meet at shows and online, they're also my community. Do it all for them.
I know there's one yarn shop in town where I live, but I don't even get to go there very much because I'm working and running my kids all over the place. So I don't have a lot of in-person fiber arts community outside of myself. So we've been traveling a lot, doing trunk shows the last couple of years, and that's been really beautiful and really kind of like fills that hole a little bit that I didn't even know was there until I experienced it again in a yarn shop, and then was like, oh, I really missed this.
As somebody who just typically is like online posting things, being at Flock and having people come up to me and be like, I love your podcast. I know people watch. I know people follow. I know people subscribe, but you don't see them doing so, right? So for just random people to come up and be like, I love your podcast. I'm like,
me?
You watch my podcast? Like, it's this feeling of like, holy cow, people are watching, people are enjoying it, people like, there's a reason behind it. Because sometimes when you're the one person, or even if you have a team and you don't have the in-person to like meet them face to face, it's hard. So I'm glad that you get those trunk show moments and your online community, because it's a different feeling. It hits different. Let's do some rapid fire questions. Usually I get like an oh no or a yay.
Oh.
You don't need to respond, but I was just like, wait, can they hear me?
I was thinking when we did this actually in person, Marcy and I weren't very good about the rapidness.
No, it's fine.
But we'll do better.
It always ends up going off the rails. So I expect nothing less from this time together. Okay. We'll start with Marcy. As a fellow emo lover, I must know, what is your favorite emo band?
Okay, my favorite emo band is Taking Back Sunday, but my favorite band is The Killers, because his name is Brandon Flowers, and he sometimes wears blazers with feather shoulder pads, and he makes the best most beautiful songs, and you can always dance to them. And his last name is Flowers, and the shows are amazing. So
you have a crush on Brandon Flowers.
This is not a secret. I don't really get celebrity crushes, but I love him. Okay. And so
I will erase the question, who is your celebrity crush? Because we had a twofer here. No, I'm just kidding. That wasn't one. Vanessa, what is something about you that might surprise people who only know you online?
My crazy upbringing. So I'm born in France. We lived in the States when I was younger, and then I actually grew up in Ireland. We moved to Ireland when I was 12, and I lived there until I was 23. If I ever come across as blunt, it's because I'm European. I sound American, but I have grown up in a European household, grew up in Europe. But yeah, I don't really talk about that.
What is a scent that instantly brings you joy or nostalgia?
I don't smell it anymore right now, but wet wool, like wet cooking wool. And then if most people hate it, but I love it. And if I go out of the studio for a bit and I come back, I'm like, because I've lost I've lost it. Some people are very sensitive to it and they're like, oh, but I'm like, I love it so much. It's just part
do too. My teeth.
Yeah. It's not good. It's not good. But it's like,
yeah, they say it smells like farts. I'm like, I don't smell that.
It's the farm. So I'm like, but yeah,
I think that you need to make air fresheners with your sheep logo that smell
like wet wool,
like wet wool.
Hot wool.
Just saying.
I don't know.
Free marketing idea.
I don't think anyone would buy those.
I mean, if both of you like it, other people have to too.
Maybe just yarn dyers.
Just for what? Just for us. Yeah. It's very niche.
There you go. You can pass them
base.
out as little goodies at shows.
You're a yarn dyer?
Yeah. Here you go.
Take this.
You like the smell.
Freebie.
I made this just for you.
Yeah.
Only you'll
be like, why does this smell like fart?
What is your favorite snack while you're working late?
Red Bull.
Yeah.
It's not a snack, but our shop manager's trying to get us sponsored because we all are obsessed with it. And beef jerky sticks.
I am a sucker for potato chips. Just plain ones, nothing crazy. Although right now we have snacks for everyone in our break room, and we're all on a Cheez-It craze. So the Cheez-Its,
so good.
I allow myself a single pack a day and then some days that are really bad, I'll be like, and I'm having 5 today.
Yeah.
So,
I love Cheez-Its outside of when I'm not feeling well, but whenever I'm not feeling good, I crave Cheez-Its and orange juice. I don't know why. It is am I missing something orange?
So
I don't
good.
know.
So good.
Okay. What is a hill that you will always die on?
Let people help you. Be kind to others, because we are all living this dumpster fire life that is 2025. And just remember, we're all human. We're all going through it. It's human for us to make mistakes. We all do it. And, as long as, you take accountability for the things that you've messed up in life, and you live life with kindness, you're just a human.
Mm-hmm.
And and I think a lot of people forget to do that.
I'll die on that hill with you.
Yeah.
What is the hill you're dying on?
I don't really have any that I'm like, this is the hill that I'm dying on, because I don't really take life too seriously. Mm-hmm. I guess just be a good person as best you can.
The hill that you are willing to die on is that there are no hills to die on.
Yeah. That's,
Rapid fire questions are over, by the way.
Oh.
Good job rapid firing. What is something that you want people to feel or remember when they knit with your yarn?
That feeling when you go into nature. Those who are lucky enough to be able to go to the seaside, the ocean, or any kind of body of water, a lake, a river, that feeling of just like connecting yourself with Mother Nature. I truly want people to just remember how beautiful this planet is and how important it is that we need to take care of it. The ocean and camping is nostalgic, so I want them to feel nostalgic when they're knitting something, and then to wear that same the item that they have created into a garment to wear it when they go to the beach or when they go camping. And just to feel like they're wrapped in nature, and they're grounded with nature. And it's very healing for me, anyways. And I hope that people experience that.
One of the reasons why I like making variegated yarn is I like when you're working on a project and you just do one little loop and there's a little fleck of dye on there that's unexpected.
Yeah.
And it makes you a little excited. Like, I didn't, oh, and it's why I love variegated yarn. And I always say every stitch is a new adventure, because that's what I love about hand-dyed yarn, is that it makes some of the most fun projects. I want the process of making to be just as fun as having a finished object, to create as much dopamine as having it finished and done. And so that's what I want. I want people to be excited to make stuff. I want them to see something and be inspired, and to kind of feel the feeling that we have when we make it, and you see it in the pan and it's cool, and you just appreciate like the dye part of it and the color appreciation behind it all. So that's what I want. Like, I love that feeling of loving the tools and the tools that you're working with, because that's what we make. We make tools. And so, yeah, or something like tools. I don't know.
Yeah.
Something
Supplies.
that you need to make something, supplies. So, you like what you're working with. And so that's what I want.
Nice. All right. Final question. Are you ready?
Ready, Freddie?
Yeah.
You were both quiet and I was like, no.
No. I'm having so much fun.
I know.
The most knitting I've done in forever.
Oh, nice. I had to put mine down because I was coming to a point where I had to count, and I'm not going to do both at the same time. What is your dream for the next chapter? And this could be for your business, for your creativity, or for your community. What's that next chapter for you? Or the dream?
I already have mine, and I'm very, very excited. Even though I've been in fisheries for 10 years, I've never actually recreationally fished myself. And I have a really good friend that took me out fishing. I have been obsessing about doing it for a really long time, just never really had the time or the opportunity. And I finally got that opportunity, and it is like my whole personality now. I own a fishing rod. I'm very proud of it. And I caught my first coho within like 30 minutes. And I realized that, it was so healing to be able to knit so much while I was out at sea. I'm an advocate. Still in the same fisheries program. And so I'm an advocate for teaching other fishery observers to pick up a fiber arts, to bring it out to sea, because it does help with mental health. Because when I was out on the river fishing, I'm like, this is so on brand for ōSHən knits. My business was created out on the ocean. The ocean is intertwined in every aspect of the business. And I'm like, how can I make this into part of our business where I get to spend the summers fishing? Because I'm so obsessed with this and I love it. And we were kind of just joking, like, oh, ocean charters. And then I'm like, no, I think this is a thing. I was looking around and I saw all of the guide boats, and I was like, well, if they can do it, I can do it. And I'm super excited to create an experience for fiber artists. For those who want to learn how to fish, there's a lot of women that have reached out to me that are like, I've always wanted to learn how to fish, but I'm really intimidated, and would love to learn from, another woman. And there's also a huge group of people who are like, I don't care about the fishing, but I totally want to knit and crochet out on the water, especially with ōSHən
Me.
Fibres yarn. Like, and so that's our next venture. We are going to be testing it out next summer. I'm going to rent my friend's boat while they're working up in Alaska. And yeah, we're hoping, 2027 we'll have our own boat. Yes, it's going to be bright pink because I love pink.
Thank God.
And we're very excited.
I do not want to fish, but I will knit on a boat. In the
Yeah, we're
water.
gonna stay in the river. We won't actually be like out on the ocean because it's pretty sketchy. Like the Astoria
yeah.
Bar is one of the most dangerous in the world, but just to be out in the water and in nature, it's a lot of fun.
I had some big major goals and I've hit quite a few in the last couple years. So we're kind of at a point where we're just looking and being like, well, what do we want to do and what are our next big goals? I think goals are super important. I love making them and tackling them.
Well, then
I
let's
love
look
it.
at it this way. What is your dream? Like if you were to just like if you could just snap and make something happen for your business.
Oh, okay. I thought you're like,
And it's just like the dream.
Yeah, yeah. I think I'm kind of living it. Like, okay, so I would like to have at some point my own office with a window. We're in a warehouse right now and we share an office. I've shared an office. I had a brief one for a minute in Alaska and then it became our break room, which was totally fine. I love having it there, but I would at some point love my own office with a window and a little tiny, they make these little like half ovens, but they're more expensive than a big oven, weirdly.
That makes zero sense.
So weird. No sense. Or so like one of those or a little like stovetop burner so that I can dye yarn in my little office studio and it'll smell like wet wool all the time. But so I would, if I could snap my fingers right now, that's what I would really like, is a nice little office. But other than that, with a window, a window would be great. I love natural light. And so we're here in Florida and pretty much everyone, because it's so hot, everyone's like, stay away from the windows, put on the shades. There's no light in Alaska. So I'm still just like,
you're soaking it in.
Curled up, it's warm like a cat. But other than that, like I can't believe how far we've come. Probably the last 3 years that like if I think of something that I want to do, like some product I want to make, we just make it. I remember when I realized that, like, it was when we were making our first Romantasy box. And again, like totally built off a joke. I have the book right here. My headphones are like,
please don't fall.
Yeah. But like we had worked with an artist to do this whole cover. It's a fake book. It's not a real one. And we designed a whole entire yarn theme off of it. And I remember when I made that, I was like, I can do whatever I want. And it was so fun.
Wuthering Heights?
No, I made this up. It's fake.
No, I know, but what's the title of it on the binder?
Unraveled. That was the name we came up with. Sometimes you just come up with these crazy ideas and it's like, that would be so much fun. I love having the freedom to just follow an idea and just go with it and see where it takes you and figure out how to do that and problem solve your way through that is really fun too. So
you're living the dream your next chapter.
I'm living
minus
it.
the office with the window.
Yeah, so that would be
someone get this gal an office with a window.
Someday.
And then we'll be good. All right. Well, you two are so wonderful and so fun to talk to, and I appreciate you taking the time. And hopefully we can just like chat and hang out again soon.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. All right. Thank you again. I'm going to stop the recording.